Hello, hello. We are back again for another Wet Ink Wednesday, and this time I have Dieter Zimmerman on the other side of my call. Dieter, say
Hi.
hello.
Hi, how you doing?
You're a you're a musician, you're an author, you're like a salesperson, you're like maybe I mean I don't want to make that sound this the wrong way, but you're a purveyor of like goods in alleys sometimes.
Yes,
Uh
yes. Sometimes in alleys, sometimes on internets, sometimes in respectable business places.
right. Brick and mortar business places have also been where you have purveyed your wares. So welcome to this show. We're going to talk about Garbage and Glory. We're going to talk about also how you became a nerd. Like, is it in the blood, so to speak, or
I
did
mean,
is there
I
like
think it
a
is. I was kind of born that way. I guess my nerddom started at a very early age. Because my dad, I don't know that I would necessarily say he was a nerd in the current conventional sense, but he often left sci-fi novels laying around all over the house. So I picked up one of those pretty early on in my life, and it was all downhill from there.
do you remember some of those early novels that you read?
I think one of the first ones I ever read was Piers Anthony, the first Xanth novel, Spell for Chameleon.
All right,
Um,
all right.
that one definitely was starting me on the road to nerddom for sure.
I
And then
that
I got my D&D basic red box on my ninth birthday. So
Okay, so that's starting young then for sure.
yeah, sure was.
Uh, I do remember a spell for Chameleon. Uh, I didn't read that one, but it was on my parents' shelf as well. I remember I was like, "Ooh, this one, I'm gonna read it someday," and someday has
Right.
not yet come, but it's not too late as of now.
It's not one that I necessarily would recommend at this point in my life, but no
But it's got like a big weird chameleon. I got a big shaggy uh,
thing.
yeah thing. I'm trying.
Yeah.
The name escapes me. Why can't I think of the
Was it
chimera?
like
It's
I
got
don't
a
know, like
chimera
big, yeah,
lion or a
Chimera.
manticore or something like that. It's got like
It was one of those kind of things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
It's a
I
big
don't really
animal on the
remember.
cover.
Yeah.
And that I don't know. This is a whole other sideline. I don't know if you're like an appreciator of the
We're
covers of those.
sidetracking. We're sidetracking already. Okay. All right.
I know. I'm sorry. It's yeah. I here you could blame me. But the I think that's a Daryl K. Sweet cover.
Oh,
like
yeah,
there's a
I think you're right. I think you're right.
I
Yes.
he's my favorite from that era, and I don't.
Yeah, he was definitely very prolific during that time period.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So Redbox at age 5 or Redbox at age 9, like uh, you know, reading the sci-fi, things going downhill. Like what? How do you? I mean, how soon did you get into like? Because I can't even know how to ask the question, but like, what is your? Because right now you work. I see your shirt. You've got DCC on your shirt.
Right.
You're a consistent con presence for Goodman Games at all the nerd cons these days. So
Right.
it
So
is how far
so
back
my
does that go in?
my story there is, I guess, like I got into D&D first, and then in high school I found my regular group of people, and we played different games all the time. And so it was only natural at some point that I would want to create my own game, my own setting, that kind of thing. So it was kind of always that sort of thing was always going on in my brain. Um, but it was, let's see, it was about 2005, maybe 2007, early 2000s, um, where I finally got the opportunity to write some stuff for a published D&D thing through Goodman Games. Um, and the story is, it's kind of in a roundabout way, it's Keith Baker's fault that I started working for Goodman Games, because he was doing a lot of writing for them in the early years, but then suddenly he got really busy with this thing called Eberron or something. So then he called in his friend Matt Sprengler, who to help him finish a bunch of projects that he had started for Goodman Games. So Matt became like a line developer and prolific writer for Goodman Games. And it turns out Matt was also one of my best friends from college.
All right. All
So at
right.
some point Matt brought me in to help him write stuff. And it's all been kind of the snowballing since then. I have written, I have edited, I have done the website, I have done the social media, I have worked booths at conventions, I have run games at conventions, I have done email customer service. That's what I'm doing now. I have done so many different things for Goodman Games over the years.
Uh,
It's been an adventure.
oh, that's great. It's amazing. Like you've done more for them. I mean, than it feels like than I've done for my own company. Because it's just email marketing. We don't have
Well,
we don't
I
do
mean,
email marketing.
I've been doing it. I've been doing it for 15 plus years, so
Right,
there's
exactly.
plenty of time to do a lot.
You've got a lot of things. So and then in between all that, you're also a musician. So like
Right.
one of the things that I always am curious about is the ways in which like creators of role-playing games and the Venn diagram of their other jobs. So like is the music side of it and the creation of that kind of stuff overlap at all with what you
Like
do?
for me, I don't know. I can't speak to other people, I guess, but for me,
No, no, yeah.
they're mostly separate things, but they do overlap every once in a while. Um,
What are
like
the
for example, like so for anyone who doesn't know me, um, I've for also about 15 years or so, I've been in a pirate band at Renaissance fairs and things where we sing sea shanties and drinking songs and that sort of thing.
and
Um,
they're good too. They you guys are
thank
good. Like
thank you.
like the first time I listened to you, I was like, oh, it's gonna be some silly thing that they just sing pirate songs. And like
I
you
mean,
do sing
it
silly
is a
pirate
silly thing,
songs,
but yeah.
but like your voices harmonize well together and you could play your instruments. Like it's not a joke. Like you're real
Well,
musicians.
but I mean,
So like
you didn't see us 15 years ago, but
well, you know,
but yeah. So anyway, it kind of overlaps every once in a while. It's obviously like that sort of music can be used in role playing games, although I've never really done that myself. Um, but it's a weird, just kind of a weird, like with the Dungeon Crawl Classics game in particular. There's a certain like subgroup of the community that is really into music and just like what is DCC music, and people have varying opinions on that. It's a discussion that comes up a lot in the community. Um, and just by another weird coincidence, there are also people from another pirate band who work for Goodman Games on Dungeon Crawl Classic stuff. So it's just a weird kind of thing. But I don't really like write songs about gaming events or games or anything like
yeah.
that, and I don't particularly use my music in the games. So usually they're separate.
But surely there must be some transferable skills about like I don't know, like going to a show and going to a con or
Oh
something that
yeah, well for sure. Like I'm kind of an introvert usually. Like I don't generally come off as outgoing, but I can be outgoing when I need to be. I can talk to people when I need to. That's definitely a skill I have learned at conventions and at Ren fairs and shows. I know how to pretend like I recognize someone even if I have no idea who they are. You know, that kind of thing.
it does help with the sales pitch to start with like, oh yes, you again, or
But
whatever.
yeah,
Um so I want to ask you about because we're going to talk about Garbage and Glory here. I
of
do want
course.
to ask you about what's a memorable real life encounter with raccoons that you would like to share.
Okay. Well, I have not had that many real life encounters with raccoons, but
Then
there
the
is
few that
one.
you've had are all the more memorable.
Well, exactly. So a friend of mine from high school, I went and visited him a couple years ago in Kansas City, and his apartment building was like had this big wooded area right outside, and he had a family of raccoons that would like come to his house to his back table, and he would just like feed them the stuff. So I was hanging out there, um, and I spent the night, slept on the couch, which was in the living room that had the slide open door to the woods right outside. Uh, Left the door open all night just in case some raccoons wanted to come in and cuddle with me. Um, a couple of them came up to the door, but none of them did come in. But
Oh,
they were they were not cuddle raccoons, I guess.
yeah, that's the next level of training.
Right.
And was your the friend whose house you were staying in, who would have had now raccoons in his house, aware that this was your plan
Oh yeah,
down on the
no,
couch?
he would have been thrilled to have raccoons in his house. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good at least. All right. So um I talked to Sam Brick already, and his art is what started this whole
Yes.
Garbage and Glory project.
Yes.
And
It's
at
fantastic.
it is fantastic, and it's continued to be fantastic throughout. But this was a discovery at Origins in 2022, so more than a year ago at the time of recording. And you were there later in the day
I
when
was there.
Brandon brought a stack of stickers and slapped them down on the table and was like, "We're going to do a game about this." And so,
I think my first reply was, "I want to write for it." like,
right,
like
right,
obviously we're doing a game about this. I want to be involved. Yeah.
right. So what? I mean, the art is great. It's very thematic. There's tons of, it's like the game has, from my point of view, the game writes itself. You just look at the art and then you just write that down.
Oh yeah, yeah. You don't need to sell it. You don't need to pitch it to anybody. The art does that.
Right. I mean, you either know what it is based on those images, or you're not interested.
Right.
So I mean, we've kind of already said it already, but like, what was that moment? What else was in your mind in that moment when you see those stickers on the table?
Oh, like I saw the stickers of the raccoon character classes basically, and yeah, I was like, obviously, this needs to be a game, and obviously, I need to be involved, and obviously, it's going to be a huge success because look at this art. Um, and so here I am.
And here you are. So let's talk a little bit about sort of the development of the game that's happened. I know
Okay.
we can be honest and say that not everything is done yet, but we've what has
I think
been.
everything is done in our heads. It just
I
needs
know
it still needs to get on paper. But
we've got to get it on paper the way it works in the head. But what are some of the ideas that you've uh, contributed, or some of the parts that we're trying to get right, as far as like what you were excited to bring to the game?
well, so very early on, the garbage was obviously there's going to be collecting garbage, and
Hmm.
somebody decided that the cards are going to be different types of garbage that you can craft with. Um, and and the game was already called Garbage and Glory, and I was thinking that the glory, since it's in the title, should be just as big in the mechanics as the garbage is. So I kind of came up with this idea that the game is about, it's not, you're not playing the raccoons as they are going through the adventure. You're playing the raccoons as the adventure is being told later in a large, around the campfire or whatever. So there's a lot of glory involved, and the glory mechanics kind of allow the characters in the game to up the stakes, up the difficulty, um, voluntarily in order to gain glory tokens, glory cards, which can then be used for character improvement or healing or things like that, or just to gain the glory and perhaps get a lasting title that will follow your character forever.
uh yeah, I mean, that was definitely your big idea about, like, no, the glory has to be, it's garbage and glory. And so yeah, the game has, this will be the first plus one game to come with, to have two themed deck of cards, one for garbage and one for glory. And that does, that's like, that's Dieter saying, like, we got to do glory. And yeah, the
Yeah, so,
boasting
so
aspect
anyone who
there.
doesn't want to buy two decks, that's my fault. Sorry.
Well, they always have the option to not buy either. That's that,
Yeah, regular cards work. Yeah.
regular cards will work just fine. Um, that's the secret of the plus one thing. Um, so and then you've also worked on character classes. So tell us maybe some about your favorite thinking about how to, because again, like plus one doesn't natively have a character class kind of system. So we're kind of inventing that with
Right.
this game. And what are some of the ways that you've what's some of the character classes you worked on?
The character classes in here they're more, I wouldn't even necessarily call them character classes. You are free, like it just gives you a starting point. You're free to develop your character in a multitude of different ways from there. But so I was my thoughts on the character classes was that each class should have a special ability that relates to either garbage or glory or both. So far I designed the trash smashers. That's what we're calling it now.
I
The
think
the
that's
kind of
the current
barbarian
name, yeah.
class, um, and the unreliable narrator, which is basically the bard. Um, so it's fun. Like character classes for this game are fairly easy to design and develop. There's not a lot of like words to it. There's not a lot of balance that necessarily needs to happen, I guess.
Right. I mean, it's
It's
essentially
mostly just assigning starting attributes and one or two special abilities. So
right, one or two special abilities to kind of flavor your character in that way. Yeah. It's going to be. I think we've been saying to people that this is going to be maybe the second most complicated plus one game after Never Going Home. So like,
and it's not very complicated.
oh no, none of the plus one games are very
Right.
complicated. That's sort
I
of
mean,
like
I mean
the
saying it's the second most complicated makes it sound like it's actually complicated, but it's not.
I just mean that like, we the last one, Doggos came out at the end of last year, and that's the simplest one ever. And then Psychic Kids was a little more complicated than that. And so this one's more complicated than that. But not as much as Never Going Home, which you've also worked on. So
Which I also worked on. Yes.
yeah. So anyway, and then I think the last thing to talk to you about then is your adventure. Like you've put some stuff to paper, and I will fess up that I have not read every word of it yet. But so I'll be surprised here when you tell me about your.
I put some ideas on paper. Like there's still a lot to put on paper. But the adventure that I'm writing for these raccoons, basically, there's a feral cat colony that lives near this human community, and the cat colony controls access to all the dumpsters of this human community. But cats don't really care about anything that's in there except for food. So the raccoons have decided they want to negotiate with these cats to get rights to go in and grab all the non-food stuff out of the dumpsters. So the characters are sent to talk to these cats and see if they can come to some kind of deal. When the characters arrive at the cat colony, one of the first things they learn is that cats, being cats, do not have any sort of leadership structure. They just all do their own thing. So there's no one single person that they can negotiate with. And they end up having to do several different tasks for several different important cats in order to gain the favor and access to the dumpsters.
All right.
That's so there's gonna be like a combat challenge. There's gonna be a social challenge. It's got options for a lot of different types of challenges and activities.
I love all the words you're saying. So often you do get like an adventure where it's like, aha, this is the princess on the like fluffy pillow commands all of the cats and has her honor guard or whatever. And it's like, yeah, cats aren't always that way. Like cats are usually not that way.
They're usually not that way. Yes.
Yeah. So I love everything about that setup, and yeah, that's I think it's extremely it's very fitting. It's very fitting for both all these things we're trying to do with the
Very much inspired by a place I used to live. There's a huge feral cat colony out behind my apartment building before, and actually, the cats I have, I adopted out of that feral cat colony. But
There you go. There you go. I'm sure I will. I expect that they are making cameos in
I will
the
have to make sure that
adventure.
they do. Yes. In fact, a lot of the cats will probably be cats that I remember from that cat colony.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta write what you know. That's the whose rule was that? Like Hemingway's or something? Somebody's rule.
Somebody's
Uh,
wrong.
um, well, great. Thank you for. Uh, I'm already so entertained by this adventure. I can't wait to see the. Can't wait till we get it all in the book and ready to go. Um, is there anything else that you'd like to say about raccoons or the project in particular or
Hmm. No, not really. Other than if you haven't backed it yet, what are you waiting for?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, it's live now. I will probably be putting links in the description of this video to the campaign, so that you can, like we've said, if you see the art, you know whether or not you want the game. That's pretty much how we're
But
trying to.
yeah, and if anyone's going to be at Gen Con next week, is it next week?
I think at the time this post, Gen Con starts tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. If you're at Gen Con this week, yeah, Matt and Brandon will be at their own booth, right? But I will
Yes,
be
yes,
hanging out. I'll be hanging out mostly at the Goodman Games booth, but feel free to come by and say hi to me too.
that's right. Yeah, we'll be sending each other each way. So I'm at we're 560. Where is Goodman Games?
We are 108
Oh, that's
or
right. You're
something.
always like down there down there in the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have an even bigger booth this year than we did last year. So
Oh man. All the more space for the ziggurat and the
yeah, that's
and
why
the
I'm getting there on Monday to help set up.
yeah, well, that's cool. All right. So, Dieter, before we get out of here, tell us where people can find more from you if they want to hear some of your pirate songs, or they want to read some of your adventures, or buy some of your books. Where are places that people can get a hold of
Well,
you?
let's see. Boy, it's going to be a long list. Okay.
You
For some
can
of
just pick
my
some
stuff,
highlights.
most of my stuff has been done for Goodman Games. You can go to goodmangames.com, order stuff directly from their website. I've also done, like I said, I wrote a thing for Never Going Home for Wet Ink. So you can buy that. It's in the Book of Whispers. Um, my pirate band is Drunk and Sailor. That's drunk ampersand squiggly thing, Sailor. You can find us on Facebook or Spotify or several other places. Um,
If you own a
yeah,
bar in
I
the
also
Caribbean, they would love to come and play at your bar.
yes, exactly. In fact, I will be in the Caribbean in August if anyone wants to hire me. Uh, yeah, that's about it. I think. We'll go with that.
All
There's
right.
so many other things. We'll stop there.
So yeah, come to Gen Con and ask him about the rest of it. All right, Dieter, thank you so much for your time to
Thank
record with me and talk about this game. And thank you for all the work you do. And we'll see you at the con.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. And thank you to all of you for watching.